Getting to the same place over and over and over. There's no shifts. There's no energy. There's no movement. There's no big goal. There's no big B goal. There's no targets. There's no prey drive. Where there's no prey drive, there's no passion. America's Coach is our podcast. Please click and subscribe to America's Coach. And on YouTube, click and subscribe. We're going to put out great content. I'm here at the Greatness Factory today. I just spoke at one of our clients' events, a growth summit. He's got Dr. Kevin Elko, one of the top sports psychologists coming in the world. So we're having a great day here at the Greatness Factory. And what I spoke on this morning is what I'm going to really unpack for you here. We also have some big guests that are coming up. I'm working on some major players that are going to be coming to the Greatness Factory. You would know all of these people as we start to interview people and engage with people that are in our network of people that I think you would really, really enjoy. Today I'm going to break down the psychology of stagnation. And as I get older in life, and when I wrote the book, Flip the Switch, I started thinking about one big question. Why do people stagnate? Why do people become complacent? Complacency is a gradual settling to a place of mediocrity. Mediocre means to go halfway up the mountain. You don't want to go halfway up the mountain, folks. One life, one chance. This ain't no practice life. So when I wrote the book, Flip the Switch, I'm like, okay, why do people stagnate? Why do people just sit? And then one day I took out a notepad like I carry around, and I started going, this is a cycle of stagnation. I started studying the great Bryce Pritchett, which we're looking at doing a big coaching event, a big coaching program next year called the Quantum Leap Strategy for Business Leaders. I started studying quantum leaps, and I started calling them remarkable advancements. And I started going, okay, where there's no pain, there's no change. Until you have enough frustration, you don't move. So I started drawing up what is the cycle of stagnation. And I want to talk directly to you today. If you have stagnated, number one, so just imagine it's a graph. The graph is either ascending, it is plateaued, or it is descending. That's it. Every person in your company, ascending, plateaued, descending. Every relationship you have, ascending, plateaued, descending. And I'm up in Philadelphia, and a guy says to me, who's a pilot, no, coach, plateaued is descending. Technically it's not, but it sure is an ascending. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're like, man, I have stagnated. I'm growing at an incremental level versus a rapid level. I'm not making remarkable advancements. I'm making small advancements. I started drawing up a of why. How? What needs to happen? So today I'm going to break down the cycle of stagnation. Now, first step, awareness. Where there's no self-awareness, there's no self-improvement. All self-improvement begins with self-awareness, right? And if you become aware of a thought, you become aware of a pattern, you become aware of how you're doing it, then you can change that pattern. And here's what happens, guys. It actually changes the neural pathways in the brain. See, I worked with the great Dave Blanchard for a while, and he had, this test that he created called the Habit Finder. And the Habit Finder basically measured your deepest habits of subconscious thought. And he used to say, where there's no self-awareness, there's no self-improvement. Because when you recognize the habit of thought, man, this triggers me. Man, we've stagnated. This is the first step to self-improvement. Where there's no self-awareness, there's no self-improvement. So when you recognize a pattern of thought, you can change that pattern of thought or the strategies that you're using or the habits that you have, and that actually changes the neural pathways in the brain. And that, my friends, is true self-improvement. So if I was drawing up the graph, I would say step one is awareness. And the awareness I want you to have today is simple. I have stagnated. Like I've hit a set point. The business is not growing. The business is not showing ascending. My personal life is stagnated. My business life is stagnated. It's like incremental growth. They asked Bryce Pritchett, Lewis Howes, I asked Bryce Pritchett what got him thinking about quantum leaps, and he said, I was disgusted that our business was on autopilot. No quantum leaps, no significant jumps, same old thing. How long do you, right? So step one is awareness. Step two is what I call causation. Now, when I was working on my doctorate, I had courses in unintended consequences, quantitative and qualitative measurement, and then we talked a lot about causation, like what created this? Well, you could say, I got out of a habit. I quit doing things I used to do to be successful. You could say, I need, it's the team that I have. What has caused this stagnation? Same old strategy, doing the same old thing, accepting the same old results, getting to the same place over and over and over. There's no shifts. There's no energy. There's no movement. There's no big goal. There's no big B goal. There's no targets. There's no prey drive. Where there's no prey drive, there's no passion. There's no passion, there's no profit. Where there's no prey drive, where there's no passion, there's no profit. And I can't tell you how many business owners, incremental growth, year over year, no, right? What is the causation of your stagnation? What is causing you to remain where you are? Let's call it a set point. Step number 3 is frustration. And frustration is a good place. Imagine if you could move from awareness to frustration to action. Why do you have to go through all these steps? Why do we have to go through all these steps, right? Why can't you go, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, let's move. I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, let's move. Because all this stuff goes on in your brain. So we go from frustration, which is misguided enthusiasm. I'm frustrated. Frustration is your friend, okay? And Mike, that's what I want the title of this show to be. Frustration is your friend. Because where there's no pain, there's no change. You have to. I was telling the story this morning of getting beat by 35 points in a sub-state game. I didn't go to a state tournament. I was so frustrated, and it was so embarrassing. Embarrassment is an activator of prey drive. That's what this podcast is about. It's like, what activates the prey drive? And it's like, man, where there's no frustration, there's no movement. I had to get beat by 35 points. I had to get that embarrassed. My team had to hit rock bottom so we could come back and win the whole thing the next year. So we go from frustration to imagination. So let's look at our cycle right here, guys. We're working through the cycle of stagnation. First, you have an awareness. I have stagnated, plateaued, incremental growth. What is the causation of that? I've gotten away from doing things that made me successful. Then I get frustrated. Frustrated is misguided enthusiasm. Frustration is your friend, because where there's no pain, there's no change. Even if you're talking to prospects, how long are you going to live there? How long are you going to stay there? How long are you going to talk about it? How long are you going to pray about it? How long are you going to sleep on it? How long are you going to complain about it? Where there's no pain, there's no change. Just remember that. Key theme here. So we're going to get to imagination. What could life be like if I had a great team? What could life be like if we were hitting our sales numbers every month? What could life be like if we were surrounded by nothing but stone cold killers? What could life be like? Then the imagination goes, okay, it is possible. I move from imagination into action. This is actually step number 5. I went awareness, causation, frustration, imagination. Now I get into action. And action is, I need to get into movement. When in doubt, I take an action. What is an action? See, I've been waiting on a person that wanted to help me grow the greatness factor, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm talking, and I'm talking. And one day I just said, F it. I'm doing it. I'm going to draw it up on a piece of paper. This is how we're going to do it, right? And so if I wrote it down right now, what are we going to do? If we're going to own these, we're going to raise capital because people have money sitting on the sidelines. We're going to buy the real estate. We're going to build it out. We're going to pre-sell it, right? And we're going to open more greatness factories. And we're going to license confidence factories. Boom. These are little miniature greatness factories for kids. Confidence factory. So what is an action? I go to my intellectual property attorney and say I want to trademark the confidence factory. I go to people who are interested in confidence factory, and I go to an attorney and I said, draw up the licensing agreement. And I send it to them, right? It's like, I'm not staying here. I'm looking for bigger moves. I'm looking for a seat at the bigger table. And you got to look for a seat at the bigger table. You got to get dissatisfied. You got to get frustrated. So you got to get your imagination going, and then you got to get into action. Action is a phone call, a follow-up, a text message. Okay? Now after action, I got to commit. And then I got to get down to remarkable boldness. And this is ultimately what I talked about this morning in the speaking engagement. Striking fearlessness. You got to change your mind about rejection. There is no such thing as rejection. Some will, some won't. So what? You got to ask the question, would you be interested in this? Would you be interested in this? Would you come to, right? I was talking to a big-time dude last night. You would know him. His name's Brad Lee. And he and I were talking, and I said, man, there's some things I need you to do for me. He said, what do you need me to do, man? And I said, I need you to come to the Greatness Factory. I need you to come do a podcast with me. I reached out to Tim Grover, said, you need to come do a podcast with me, right? I reached out to influential people in my network, and I said, man, look, I've helped you. I've helped grow the business. We're close friends. I've sent you referrals. Now I got a favor. I need you to come here and show people why they should be coming to this Greatness Factory. Yes, sir, I can do that. Okay, send me your schedule when you come into Nashville. Because this is the part a lot of people do. They commit to something, and then they don't follow up. They don't follow up on what they committed to, so they never recommit. Every single day, we commit and we recommit. We commit and we recommit. We commit and we recommit. So the question for you today, if you're listening to this podcast, YouTube, subscribe. America's Coach under all the podcasts. I got a new book coming out called 8-Figure Skill Sets Stuck in 6-Figure Vehicles. We're doing events at the Greatness Factory every single week. You can see those at CoachBurt.com. I'm doing 90-day sprints. I got a new 90-day sprint coming in November. 90 days with me. Get you started. You credit the money to the locker room. The number one program I'm coaching in 2025 is called the Locker Room, folks. And I guarantee you what's going to happen. Here's my word for 2025 is going to be activate. You get in with me, I'm going to activate a boldness inside of you. I'm going to activate an energy inside of you. I'm going to activate a message inside of you. I'm going to activate an expansive thought inside of you. And I'm not going to allow you to stagnate. See, I'm going to move you from I have stagnated awareness. We're going to skip causation. We're going to move right to frustration. And we're going to move right to step number 5, which is action. And I'm going to activate a stone cold killer inside of you, man, to go out there and be the person you are supposed to be, to quit playing small, for God's sakes. You come to this Greatness Factory, you're going to go, now this is impressive. Why? I took an action, and I followed that action up year over year over year until I friggin' made it happen. And this ain't the end. You're going to see these things. I was in Austin, Texas last week looking for potential Greatness Factories. I was in Dallas, Texas. Right? I'm headed to Florida today, and I guarantee you, man, I'm going to get down there and find a piece of real estate. I'm like, let's go. Let's open one right here. It's underserved. That market's underserved down there. So, my name is Coach Michael Burt. I believe everybody needs a great coach in life. You're listening to Pray Drive, the activation of a drive, because we go to bed tired and we wake up hungry. When are you going to message me? CoachBurt.com. Say, I'm in. Put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play at a much higher level. I'm tired of playing at the amateur levels. We leave our amateur desires behind, and we make a freaking decision to go pro. This is the cycle of stagnation. I'm Coach Michael Burt.